Is it looking good, Jesse?
Yep, we're
Okay.
good to go now.
Right, we have a motion to reconvene.
Second.
Roll call, please, City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. All right, so Jesse, do we have anybody on for public comments?
Yes, it looks like Garrett Brown we have.
Okay.
Hello.
Floor is yours, Garrett. Can you?
Oh, okay. Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. Just wanted to thank the manager and staff for doing that to fix the public comment, because it wasn't working. So I appreciate you and the council for making sure that was right. So I appreciate that. Just have one comment regarding the medical marijuana. I know I'm not really taking a very strong position on it, but I do feel that it would not harm the community. I do feel it would bring money in from the licensing of it, and there are ways to, because I think other communities have been able to police it. So I do think that that's something that we could do. Obviously, we've been successful with the medical version of that. So I think if we've been successful with the medical version, I think the recreational one could also be successful, but that's just an opinion of one citizen. So just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Jesse?
Nope, don't see any others.
Okay. So we don't have reason for a closed session. In regards to the consent calendar for the minutes at our last meeting, I do have a change on there. When we were voting on the approval for the funds for Holland Tart, there is an error on that tally. So I voted to approve of it, and Councilwoman Reed voted not to approve it. So we can have that change is reflected in the minutes. Any discussion or clarification for that? So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with that change? Do I have a motion? I have a motion, but I have a second. I have a support. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed,
Yes.
Jackson. Oh, sorry. Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So the items for our individual discussion, in your packets, you have the applications for a few seats that are available on different committees. We'll start off first with Nora Jackson's appointment for the Recreation Committee or Commission.
Move to approve Nora Jackson for the Recreation Commission.
Discussion. City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Next, we have the application for Audra Masternak-Fuentes for the Albion Building Authority. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Support. Comments? Councilman Winter?
Audra Masternak-Fuentes is her partner, Nathan, are great members of the community. They've been supporting us over the last 2 years in the city doing the Easter egg hunt that they do. This is a really great, joining the Board of Commission is a really great way to grow youth or younger talent on our city boards and commissions to help grow leaders to eventually come to council and other business leadership communities. So I just wanted to put a strong, heavy-handed support of Audra, Masternak-Fuentes, to be on this committee.
Any other comments?
This is a question.
Yes.
So when we're selecting or when people put in applications, what's the process and how they're selected?
What do you mean, like,
When people present applications for openings?
so if we have seats open, then we bring them forward to city council for approval.
So that's all it is.
They have to go through a vetting process first before they get to me, and then I bring them forward.
Okay.
City clerk, Rita?
Councilmember Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Mayor Snyder.
Yes. And then finally, we have Andy Zablewski, who has submitted his application for the EDC board.
So moved.
Do I have a support? Comments? City clerk, Rita?
Councilmember Lanu,
No.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
No.
Lawler,
No.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Right, so do I have a motion? Yes. Motion to approve the resolution to approve the grant agreement with Albion Community Foundation and authorize mayor to sign the agreement with the city of Albion. Councilor Reed, do you have information on this? Do I have what? Information, for-
I think we moved first, right?
Okay, motion to approve,
Motion to approve.
support,
Are you on the?
yes.
Support.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the city, we submitted a grant application to the Albion Community Foundation to seek funds to help us put up the Shark Pavilion. This was prior to the college graciously committing to putting up this pavilion. We received notification that our grant application was awarded. We received $2,000 from the Rotary Fund through the Community Foundation, and through that grant, we are required to just accept it and provide that back to the foundation.
Yes, Councilor Reed?
Okay, I read through this thing and are we able to accept it even though, I got the email from you, even though it's saying that it has to be for putting up the pavilion? Which means if we use it for the tables or anything else, we would not be.
Grants are very specific on what you can use the dollars for, and that application was specifically for going towards the cost for putting up the pavilion. So that would be a question of the community foundation, whether we could make an amendment
Can we
to
put
that
that on
application.
hold, please, because I've called, I have made 2 calls to the 2 people whose group put up the money to see if they would change the way they have proposed doing that. So, because the way I read this, to me, it seems like if we use it, a penny of it for anything except for putting that building up, somebody will go to jail, it's not gonna be me. So I would just like to put this on hold until we can get it clarified with the people who are giving the money, that if it's used for like the tables, because after you get the pavilion, you still got to have the tables, you still got to have the pits and things like that that go with the pavilion. So,
Unfortunately, we already got a motion on the floor, and it's been supported for the approval of this. I think we have to go through this first, vote on this first before we're able to bring a motion to table. Correct?
No, you can motion to table it in the middle. You like, we're on motion, you can table a motion. Point of information.
Right, okay. Councilman Williamson.
I think I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that.
So I have two questions. So then, is your pavilion already paid for by someone else at this time?
At this point in time, Albion College has said they are going to pay for putting the pavilion up.
Okay, so why was this specifically wrote in
This
this
was-
manner?
This grant application was submitted prior to the college committing to cover the cost. So this was already done in the works before Albion College committed to covering that cost for the city.
Already done.
It was submitted on March 9th.
I thought she mentioned that before. I think we need to go back in the minutes.
We can, but I know the grant applications that I worked on were submitted prior to, I was notified that the college was willing to cover the cost for the project.
Could you just verify that, just to be sure? And two, I never remember, my second part of the question is, I never saw anything like this before, since I've been on council for such a low amount. So is this something new or what?
The max amount for the grant was 3,000 and.
No, I'm talking about the structure of the letter. I never saw one like this before. Submitted when somebody asked for such a low amount.
I don't know, I'm kind of confused what you're asking, but this is just.
So what I'm
requirement
saying, I said it one
42.
more time, when people have asked for money before, I've never seen a grant agreement letter wrote in this type of manner with these specific details before when we approve money.
So I think this is where Councilman Williamson can have some clarification on this. Yes, okay.
I can, so we had the community foundation, just so you know, I have no, I just need to disclose that Dr. Plum for the meeting. I'm currently serving as the interim executive director of the community foundation, so I just want to disclose that. I make no financial gain off of any decision made about this grant, or any grant at the foundation. The foundation follows a strict policy around grant making. We give grants, we have grant rounds 4 times a year. Currently those are January, March, June, and late, usually September. When a grant is provided to any organization through any fund at the community foundation, upon receiving that grant from either the committee, the grant committee that does the fund for Albion, or a committee for a specific fund. For example, this is coming from the Rotary Fund at the community foundation. That means a separate committee said, yep, we want this grant funded. The board of trustees of the community foundation understands that that's a great choice. And then a grant agreement gets sent out to every grantee. And that is for every dollar amount that comes out of the foundation. So, and that comes from any disbursement from any fund. For example, we gave like a $400 disbursement out of a different fund to a large nonprofit, and they still had to sign a grant agreement in order to get their money. So this is a very standard form. We just plug and play what the grant was submitted for into the standard language for our grant agreements, and then we send them out. I think Councilmember Reed is onto something, because when you change things, you have to let the committees know. And so the appropriate way, if you want to change use of the grant, which Albion Community Foundation has been very, very flexible, especially the last year and a half about rearranging grants or votes, is to write a letter to the executive director and the office manager there, her name is Denise Porter, and express the change of use for the grant, and she will reach back out to the committee. And generally you'll get decisions within a very short amount of time to find out, can you repurpose this grant? In fact, this committee might actually be incredibly excited that the college stepped up to take on that big project, and now they might be able to support something else in Highland Park. So I know the grant agreement looks a little intimidating, but it's for everybody, and we do that with every grant no matter what. And we also have a rigid time frame, so it is conceivable that we would approve a grant and then something else would happen before a grant agreement makes it out to folks, because we run on a slower time frame than like an emergency funder. Because we have to convene between 7 and 12 and 7 and 15 people, depending on who makes that decision, to have that meeting virtually to make that happen. So I just want to add, that's the context for why these grant agreements look like that. I think that Councilmember Reed might be onto something with maybe tabling it for a week or two until City Manager Snyder and Councilmember Reed can figure out how to repurpose these funds and get that request into the foundation. And again, I make zero of those decisions. In fact, I'm a forced signature at the end of the day, because the board of trustees and the committee say this is what we're gonna spend our money on, so. I hope that helps.
Like the first time you've seen something from the foundation like this.
This is the first time that the city has gotten this grant in the last 2 years.
And I
So-
did,
Yeah, I'm sorry, Councilman White.
Okay, so, when you write up the agreement, this goes back to the board, and the board approves the language of it.
So the board doesn't approve the grant agreement language, they rarely see the grant agreements, they've approved this years ago when we developed our grant agreements. What happens is they approve the allocation of the money, and then we send out the agreements to the grantees, because these are the board approved standard agreements, yes.
And our city attorney Attorney Harkness has reviewed the current agreement. He did make some modifications just to include standard language that is included in all of the city agreements.
Yeah, so the agreement was actually shorter of paragraphs 11 through 15 were added by my office.
Councilman Reed.
okay, I did, talk with Linda because she's the president of the Rotary. I did talk to her about it, I did mention this to her. She said she was not aware that there was that detail and that to the point about anything. Anyway, it's just things I see in here that too, just like you said, seem like, it's just more stricter than what it needs to be. And even though Haley's the one going to jail, but she's gonna have to sign it, I still don't think, that it should be better to just see it, you know.
Yes, Councilwoman Williamson.
The other thing I could offer is that, this is money being given to you by the foundation, and you could vote to accept it this evening and then still proceed with the change of use request. There's no crime, like, this is not a criminal police situation, so, I want to emphasize how flexible those funders have been, that if you were to accept the money tonight, doesn't mean you're spending it tonight, and you can still submit a request even after accepting the money to change of use. That happened almost 100% of our grants in 2020. Everyone had written the acceptance, and then everybody immediately changed how they were gonna go through the program or do it. And if for some reason it doesn't work, you can always give it back. So there's nothing bad that could happen here if you were to vote to accept this money. It actually would make your life a little easier, because then all you have to do is shoot an email.
That's right, correct? No. That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it contingent on, you can either say, hey, we're gonna accept it, and then if you ultimately don't use it, you can just repay it pursuant to the terms of the grant, or, you know, pending your change request. Yeah, absolutely.
So with a change request, then if Rotary says use it for whatever, because I also talked to Bob Duncan about it. I know I have to call someone else. If they change it to say usable to any part of the pavilion project, okay.
Yep, they're gonna want, they may want some specifics, but it's not gonna be an over encumbering process. And Ms. Reed, I would commit to you to helping you get through that in the next couple of days, if you want to get that done sooner rather than later, because I don't want you to not get the money for the park, especially if you need it. So, and this committee obviously very clearly wants this to happen.
So then, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
So just one, as it relates to the resolution, the resolution should read in a final paragraph. Be it further resolved, the city council hereby authorizes the mayor and the clerk to execute the adoption agreement on the city's behalf. It looks like, so it looks like when this got printed on the back page, the same part of the signature block of the clerk got blocked out.
It's on the back.
Oh, it's on the back side.
It's on the back.
That page for you. My apologies.
Well, never mind, it's Jesse's fault.
It's my fault again. Jesse wanted it.
So it's already.
Okay. But yeah, that needs to be added to the resolution for this, that the clerk has to execute.
So then are we, good with the motion with the, addended change for the use of, not necessarily for the pavilion, but just for use of the Highland Park improvements?
I would keep it as something relating to, if they want to,
Yes.
something to the pavilion, that's fine with me, because just like I said, you still got to pay for the tables and everything else that goes along with that. But just to say it had to be for the building of it, that out. So to the pavilion project.
The pavilion project, okay. Yeah, that's any question?
No, what do you,
Motion to approve the resolution with the addendum of the use of the funds for pavilion use, not necessarily just for, yes, Colin.
I'm sorry, just as a,
So they have to be a motion.
so you probably want to make a motion to, you know, whether that's gonna be, make a motion to, as an amendment, and certainly not forgetting, I don't know, maybe the original motion. But they can accept it as a friendly amendment, and I would include, as part of your amendment, to also add the language and the clerk to the resolution, and just get it all in one swoop, and then vote on the main question, unless the maker of the motion accepts it as a friendly amendment.
So the resolution itself also has to say mayor and clerk.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Please review that.
Councilmember Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. We have a motion to approve the resolution.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear anybody subsequently make that motion, and I didn't make a motion, accept it as a friendly amendment.
So going back, we have a motion to amend.
No, for point of information,
Yes.
just who made the motion?
Councilmember Clark.
Councilmember Clark, do you accept the contingencies for the pavilion as part of, as a friendly amendment to your motion on the vote that we just took?
Yes.
Okay,
There you go.
So,
we're all on the page.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve the resolution to authorize a temporary modification to allow the city of Albion to report city gain COVID-related wages for service credit to the city's MERS defined contribution credit. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just, council, you previously approved to make this temporary modification to the city's MERS defined benefit plans. The, city's defined contribution plan should have been included in that resolution, so this is just coming back before you, for that same modification to allow us to report any COVID-related, wages, towards the years of service.
Questions for city manager? City clerk, Domingo?
Councilmember Clark,
yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve adding the delinquent abatements to the 2021 summer tax bill.
So moved.
Support. Tom, floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. Finance Department, the Finance Director goes long day. This is what we bring to you each year, this time, or each year, about this time, we come to you with any of the delinquents from both the miscellaneous receivables, which primarily are abatement charges. When code enforcement moves out, it has to mow or board or clean up properties or whatever. The next item on that agenda is also for utility bills, so they work kind of the same, so I'm gonna kind of talk about them both at the same time, where the way that the ordinance reads on these is that we would bring to you anything that were delinquent as of September 30th of the prior year, so September 30th of 2020. The difference on this year is, if you recall, with COVID, everything going on in COVID last year, they did not, the state said we couldn't shut anybody off for non-payment of water. And there also was a lot of restrictions and stuff on foreclosing on people and, the burden of, trying to even tax foreclosure and stuff. So we held off on doing this last year. So what you have in front of you is most of these would have come before council last year. They're a little older, I guess, than what we traditionally had. But we also had to change that a little bit because if we went through September last year, all the people who didn't pay their water bill because the state allowed them not to pay would have been on here. We didn't really feel that that was right to add them, to have it put on their tax bill when the state had the law out that they didn't have to pay the tax bill or the utility bill. So to try to summarize and make some clarity of this, you've got about a year and a half worth of delinquencies here this year. So they're a little higher than normal. So with that said, the delinquent miscellaneous receivables discussing right now, there was about 53 of them totaling $37,580. Question on
Council
that?
Lewis.
So you said that we really didn't do too much with the accounts receivable in 2020, as right?
We didn't do this step. We didn't take the delinquent receivables and put them on the tax bill last year.
Okay, so during the 2020, did people get notices about this is coming back on the table? So did they get notices sent to these addresses?
We don't, well, they get the notice that we would send, any normal notice, I guess. And then like with the process being re-implemented now of the shut-offs and stuff, yes, we have reached out through flyers in their utility bills and different things that, this is going to commence, going back to the shut-off. So we try to reach out to them as much as we could within reason. I mean, we don't do a special mailing just for these, but part of that is because of the time frame. We can't the ordinance, when I said that about September, it's a little odd. It actually reads that you have to wait till March 31st and then look back 6 months back, which puts it back to September 30th. So we can't really do this process until March, or end of March, which is April, May, which is why we're before you now. And if we send out something now, we tried that in the past and it creates a lot of confusion because people then will come in and pay just this part thinking that they paid all their tax, or some of them get double billed because they'll pay it from the letter we send out and then it also goes on the tax bill. So it's kind of it's a timing thing basically, because the tax bills are going to be created here pretty quick. So if they got a separate bill right now and start coming in and paying, it really get confusing. I'm trying to decide which ones really need on a tax bill, which ones are paid.
So the answer is no.
Not a separate mailing on these, correct?
But so these amounts are gonna get added to their upcoming.
Yeah.
I was just saying that because if we didn't give people a chance to at least pay it, this is gonna be a surprise on their summer tax bills.
Well, not necessarily, because they have received billings, this, when it's in the miscellaneous receivable system, it kicks out an invoice, just like, you get if you lose somebody money from a gas company or whatever, it kicks out an invoice, so they're getting a bill. This part of it is just the next step of the collection effort, where we're just taking those that are excessively delinquent and moving them over to the tax bill. So they've gotten a lot of notice between when it was occurred and before this process started.
And that's just for the accounts receivable abatements, right? That we just talking about right now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Clark?
So there is COVID money available for some, these people, homeowners. Just want to put it out there, they need to contact, the Battle Creek area, find out who the fiduciary is that's available right now, that's handling this type of, delinquency. So it's for homeowners and it's also for landlords. I don't know if there's any landlords in this group.
I'm sure there are.
So, they can even get back payment for, non-payment of rent and things of that nature, so they need to contact that area so they can find that information out. And one other question, do we find, when people are deceased, do we know if they're deceased on this list or not? You know, if somebody died, right?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the only way we get notice of it is if somebody that's came in the state or maybe, sibling or something sees the bill come in the mail, contacts us or something.
Okay.
Councilman Weinstein?
Just as a note, I think, just as an FYI, the rest of council, Councilmember Clark and I, were pretty intimately involved with the, code enforcement situation in the city as we came on council and started talking about criminal certification. One thing that I learned, from Record Need through this process was a lot of our rental properties are in, LLCs or holding groups or in different, they're named different things. And so this one in particular, because this is property tax, if you look through the list, you can actually see the kind of overwhelming number of properties that are not just owned by an individual, they're LLC or a business group or a trust. And this is just good data to have when we start thinking, and some of those folks have some of the highest amounts that they owe. So this was just me pointing this out as we talk about putting this, obviously, the support to put this on to the tax bills, but I wanted to just say this is really good information for everyone who thinks about rental certification, about how people engage in the community around, making sure that we pay our bills and things like that, that this is good data for when we're talking about rental certification. Because it adds to, this is why it is needed, if it is. So I just wanted to add that to the discussion. So thank you, Director Neat, especially because now I feel like I can look at this and I understand it a little better just because I have an idea of what those folks are. So thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I already have a question. Isn't this a norm now that you normally take and, this is 2019, and you put it onto their taxes?
Well,
Right, yeah, you add this to your taxes. Sometimes you use the water bill, sometimes they, they add it to the taxes now.
oh, yeah, it's part of the charter. It's something.
Exactly.
Every year. But the only difference, like I said, because of COVID, it kind of got delayed a little bit because last year we didn't do the steps.
Yeah.
I was trying to, thank you, Mayor Center, I was trying to look up the phone number, but I know it is Summit Point, the COVID emergency relief assistance that Councilmember Clark was referring to, and I have shared that on my council page. It's a phone number that can help with utility assistance, so that's what I'm thinking about our landlords, is how do we help them? Because it is gonna be an issue that the assistance, I just found out 8 million has been given to Calhoun County last week, so the assistance is there.
And with that, we've added that information to our COVID tab on our website. We've also sent out mailers that have the information to reach out to some of these programs, to see some of the utility assistant programs. So encourage your constituents or residents who know who may need them to check out our the city's website for more information.
Yes, additionally, both the tenant and the landlord applications and information is on the website under the community assistance, just to further.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? City Clerk, Anita?
Councilmember Reed. Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve adding the delinquent utility, sewer and water bills to the 2021 summer tax bills. Do I have a motion?
Some support.
Sarah?
And this is the same type of thing as what we just talked about with the sales receivables, but this is actual utility billing accounts. Everything's the same, the manner that it's handled. I think that, like I said, again, it's a little higher because we did not do it last summer, so we're looking at about a year and a half worth. And we're at 40, actually, it's 244 accounts at $42,946. And if memory serves me correctly, it seems like we're generally around 30,000 or so, give or take. So, like I said, it is a little higher. We're probably going to see it a little bit higher next year as we're catching up. So, questions on those?
Councilman Lopez?
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, did we send out any notices? And the reason why I'm saying this time is not to, charge on you or anything like that, but I did see, at least one account that I'm familiar with. And, I know that lady paid her water bill. I know she did. So, to me, it's, you said that notices were sent out, nothing came in her name to my address. So, I'm just trying to figure out, do we need to say yes to this, or do we need to revisit this? When was the last time that we revisited the water bills?
Well, I guess to answer if this answers your question,
Okay.
this, until recently, these were all in our utility billing system. So every quarter, the process would have been, they would have first the regular bill, and then 30 days later, the late notice, and then eventually the shut off. Now, the difference was because of COVID, we couldn't actually shut it off. So a lot of people chose not to pay because they weren't shut off. And as a result of that, we're trying to collect a tremendous amount now, but it's hasn't been shut off. So the guys are working hard to overhang or something else. But to answer your question, I mean, you know, if there's somebody not getting a bill or something, we certainly encourage them to contact us, you know, whether they're, you know, whether they're having issues with post office, or whether we have the wrong address, or whatever the situation may be. You know, if you're not getting a bill, definitely contact us. But these were all on our utility billing system, so every quarter, when their section is due, they should be getting a notice.
Okay, because the bill comes in my name, and I don't see nothing with this lady's name on it that come to my house.
Maybe the best way to handle this is if we could get together either after the meeting or by phone call or something tomorrow, and look into that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Just I'll let you know about the ones that I know that are deceased.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I sent it to you.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Thank you, Tom. So we have item for discussion and approval of additional funding for tree construction. Do I have a motion to approve?
Or-
I'm Patrick Miller, Director of Public Services. To give you an update on the tree situation, since the beginning of the year, we've cut down approximately 30 trees. We've ground about 60 stumps. The reason there's more stumps than trees, last year we didn't clean all the stumps, so we spent about $50,000 since the beginning of the year just doing those trees alone. We have a living document that is the tree list. We update it weekly. Right now we have 49 trees on the list. We have about 2 to 4 every week. We rate them in order of danger level. Typically we have our contractor, Rusty Four Farms, meet us at the tree, inspect it, and give us an idea of how dangerous that tree is. We add it to the list with the address, and then we rate it 1 through 10, and 10 being the worst. We try to focus on those trees first. So of the 49 trees, about 20 of them only need to be trimmed, or they only have hangers on them, so the whole tree doesn't have to be cut down. Typically, a dangerous tree could be $1,500 to $3,000 to be removed. So if you just take the 29 trees, that's $65,000. On a high estimate, just to be safe. One thing that I can tell you, we could drive down the street right now and I could pick out 50 to 75 trees that are bad. We're a member of the Tree City USA. We have thousands of trees in the city. They're getting older, they're getting diseased, they're getting bugs. They're just dangerous. So there's definitely no shortage of trees. So one recommendation I have to you guys, think about how much money we spent on trees. If we spent $50,000 this year, and I'm gonna ask you for another $65,000, $115,000. I think we can invest some of that money into a bucket truck, train our guys, and we can tackle at least half of these trees ourselves and save some money, and then we have the equipment to maintain our trees in our parks, in our cemetery, on the streets. We can hang our banners instead of wiring it out. That would be my advice to council. So as David may have mentioned last week or last council, we do still have a little bit of money available, about $35,000. Would also recommend that we hold some of that back, maybe $10,000 to $12,000, depending on whether we want to have some reserve to pay for trees. Believe me, we can spend that at the end of the year quick. So if we still have it and haven't spent it on emergency, boom, we can take out some trees. Everything I put on here is excluding the parks and cemetery. We have lots of trees in the parks and cemetery that need to be addressed. I just didn't include it in the trees on the street. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Councilwoman, Mayor Pro Tem Jackson, sorry.
Yes, Patrick, I thank you for the information that you brought to us tonight. You answered just a small portion of what I was going to ask you. And that was about, you said 50 to 70 trees that you could just go out and pick. And then I had a big old question mark, why would you give this amount to? So I thank you for making that consideration of wanting to get your own truck. Okay, so I don't know if everyone else, but I hope they, I would love to see what the amount is with the truck. I would love to see how much it would cost if the guys got trained, how many need to be trained, because yes, this does not make sense to come back and forth to ask for this type of money when you do see this many trees every year. So we are giving away money that we should be giving away.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I can give you a real quick rough estimate, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I got my deal on the bucket truck, 140,000 for a brand new one, about 100 for a 2015. Just so you guys have an idea of how much a bucket truck is.
Councilwoman.
So thank you for this information. This is actually, I love that. I mean, the down to the addresses. That was kind of overkill, but I appreciate it. That's great. I was wondering, is this the direction of purchasing our own truck and training our staff, is that the direction that the city manager would like to see the city go? Is this what you're looking to do? Is this, I'm trying to figure out, because we could just, give more money and pay Rusty to cut down our trees. But if this proposal is something, or the idea of this proposal is something that the city would like to do, are you behind this? Is this what you would like to have happen?
I am. Obviously, I'd love to empower the staff that we have and be able to train them to be able to provide more services to the community. The Department of Public Services, it's about time we make an investment in the equipment that we have. We have mandated what they have for so long now that we need to make an investment and provide them with proper equipment to be able to better service the community. So I do fully support us investing in our own.
So just to follow up from that, is there a way that before, because tonight it seems like there's not enough information to make it, in my mind, there's not enough information to make a decision about how much money to spend. Is it reasonable to think that at the first meeting in June, we might be able to see, here's the cost of a truck or a used truck, here's how much it's gonna cost for training, and then here's how many trees we're gonna be able to do, is there a plan and where's the money gonna come from to pay for that? Is there a way we can get all that information? I mean, I feel like I know there's money there, and I see the budget every month and look at the accounts, but, it'd be nice to have a bit laid out, is that possible? And again, you don't have to do that unless we all vote on that, so I'm just asking if it's possible.
So it's definitely possible.
And Patrick, how many guys need to get trained on this to make it feasible?
We only have 2 operators, so I would say it's 2 to 4. And we do have an outside company that trains our guys. We did a little bit of tree training already, not this extensive, so we know what to do with that and get it trained up.
And ladies, I'm sorry, I didn't see who had their hand for the council.
I noticed that you said in your report that that we could sell a few of the old equipment. I had asked some time ago about the old equipment and what the value of it was and how we were going to get rid of it, because I had made a visit out there and saw all the old equipment. Do you have that's something else I would like to see included in this? How, and what you could do with that. And also, we know that we have a shortage now of the people that work. Will you have to hire? Even though you're saying you're trained, this is a whole lot of extra work that is not currently on their job description or what they do on a daily basis. So I would like for you to also look at that and see if you would have to hire someone to do.
Councilwoman Reed?
I have always thought that we should have our own stuff to work with, but just like the patching, we have it and no holes are getting patched. No holes are getting filled. So is this truck gonna be like that?
So
Are we gonna be doing any patching anytime soon?
we are patching every day, that's nice.
Yes, Councilwoman Wells.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. So as of right now, are we asking for more funding to cut the trees down, or are we looking into getting our own?
So
What's
I
on the
think,
table?
at least from my understanding, we're gonna look at continuing this conversation when Patrick's able to get us, numbers for a new bucket truck, how much it would be to train 2 to 4 individuals on this, so. Councilwoman Lee?
Thank you. Are bucket trucks included in the enterprise fleets? Okay, so there's a chance that we would, in terms of the contract that we entered in with them earlier this year.
Oh, I'm sorry, you meant enterprise fleet services, I thought you meant enterprise funds, I'm sorry.
No, I'm curious about the contract that we already were entered in, if that would be something that they have.
From what I understand, they can do the cab and chassis, but they don't do the service box. So we would have to purchase that separately.
Okay. I'm just thinking about any cost savings with that. And then I guess one follow-up question, because this is such a severe need and it looks like we already kind of reached that threshold that you were anticipating for the budget this year. What is like the cost to benefit ratio to moving forward in this new direction versus continuing to address the trees that we have with the funds that are available still?
So, like I kind of put in here, if we were to spend $115,000 on trees this year, and let's say I can do half of those trees with a bucket truck and approve our own beds, we're saving $57,000 right there. 3 years you pay for the bucket truck. And we can utilize elsewhere in the city, cemetery, parks, hang the banner.
So am I hearing that it is advisable to wait until we know what those numbers are versus continuing to take care of trees with the money that is currently available?
We have to, once we know about a dangerous tree that is dangerous to life and property, we have to take care of it.
Okay.
So I am still doing tree work. It's just very, very much slower because our budget is down to.
That helps, thank you.
So, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wells.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I'm willing to ask this question. Did we not have offered a budget that the amount of money we had to spend on getting all these trees down? And did we offer it to him and he gave us a set price, or was he charging us one by one for each tree?
He charges just based on each tree, the difficulty of the tree, the size of the tree, the location, if he's got to get with consumers. There's a lot of different variables in his contract.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Clark.
So I would, move that we, put this, maybe to the next council meeting, put it on the agenda for the next council meeting, when we bring some more details and then we'll discuss it.
Support.
Any other questions, comments? City Clerk Domingo, please.
Councilmember
sorry.
Waller,
Okay, I was just trying, I'm going along with the thing, but what do you want?
Well, we're just,
Everything that we just said, that he's gonna bring back the information to know, if you have to hire somebody, what the training will cost, that kind of stuff.
Okay, that would be cost a long way to put it out.
That's why I said next council meeting.
go ahead, City Clerk Domingo, sorry.
Councilmember Waller,
Yes.
Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed, Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes, thank you, Kendra, for the information. Discussion, we have a motion for discussion approval for strategies on public engagement related to updating the city's consent.
So
So Councilman Lemieux, do you have background info for us?
I was still Director Arnold will be sharing a formal update.
It's one of those moments where I wish planning commission was on Monday, city council was on Tuesday, because tomorrow, one of the agenda items for the planning commission is exactly this, discussing what ways we can better involve our residents, our community, in the updating of the strategic plan. Just as a update on where we're at, we're reaching the point where we need to do our first 5-year update with this new plan, I think from 2017. That is due February 5th is coming to mind. It might not be specifically the 5th, it's February of 22. So we're just trying to be proactive and update the comprehensive plan and submit it to the state, so we're still eligible for things like our redevelopment ready community status. And there's a lot of ways having an updated comprehensive plan, not just through the state, but with other community partners, is a benefit to the city. So we're starting from there, getting things kicked off. On June 12th, from 9 to 1 p.m., there's a consultant from Ottawa County, who's a professional connection of mine, who's going to come in to offer to the Planning Commission and City Council a strategic planning workshop. Definitely encouraged to ask that you all attend that. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to sit down with the Planning Commission. I don't know how much time in a year you generally get to sit down, council and commission, but I think it's going to be a very valuable opportunity. And that's going to be kind of the springboard from just reaffirming the values that we've set in the previous comprehensive plan and moving forward in a way that makes sure that everything that the Planning Commission is voting on and agreeing on is along the lines of something that the City Council will also vote on and agree on. So we're starting from there. Moving forward, we want to have some charrettes, workshops, meetings, informal chats with our intergovernmental partners like the Economic Development Corporation, the DDA, the Building Authority. And we also want to be working closely with Albion College, who is also updating their master plan this year. So we're just doing it at the same time, and we view that as a good opportunity to work together on that. So tomorrow at the Planning Commission, we're going to be discussing, well, I'm going to be informing them of the meeting on the 12th that is available to us, as well as getting their input on what they would like to see updated or changed. We'd also like to do as much public involvement as possible. City Manager Snyder informed me in the past, it's been as basic as trifold posters and sticky notes and asking residents to rank something from important to unimportant. And so that kind of involvement and any other involvement that you can suggest for us that's the route we're going down. And I don't have anything more concrete than that as we're discussing it tomorrow with the Planning Commission. It's been on the agenda for The last few months of planning commission meetings, and I kind of anticipate will be an agenda item every month for the planning commission until we're done with it, but other things like getting the mobile food vending ordinance took a slight precedence to that, just because we'd like to have that out before summer here. I know we're getting into the nice weather, but that's where we're at.
And City Director Arnold, I did have other items. I talk about the comprehensive plan all the time because I feel like when we get concerns, it's really important to just emphasize that the city has already taken all these concerns into account. So I just wanted to briefly share what the goals and objectives are, and then some ideas and resources related to really the city as a whole having community engagement. It coincides well with this process, but I do recognize that is your role, the planning commission's role, and this is more just an emphasis that as turnover has happened in our city, we haven't really been able to look at these goals on an annual basis like we're recommended to by the state. So the first goal is retaining and attracting jobs by supporting business growth and development. The second is delivering high-quality municipal services that improve the quality of life. The third is achieving consistency between the zoning code and the long-term goals for housing, commercial, and industrial development. The fourth is strengthening and beautifying Albion's neighborhoods. The fifth is stabilizing downtown, enhancing its historical character, and supporting economic growth. The sixth is supporting and strengthening pre-K through 16 education for the community. The seventh is building capacity and a network of organizations and services to address poverty and meet the needs of residents who cannot afford basic services. The eighth is improving Albion's transportation network, accommodating and promoting various modes, including walking, biking, automobiles, passenger rail, and public transportation. The ninth is focusing on planning and resources to enhance and transform the city's major corridors. The 10th is forging local, regional, and global collaborations that support the city, its people, needs, and opportunities. And the last goal is supporting the networks and systems that promote healthy living. So of course, that's included in the goals that we've set, and I think it's just important for us as a governing body and the public to realize there is a lot of attention being put into those goals through our current goals and then the updating of the plan. I've provided for the council an overview of community engagement planning. The entire plan that I have provided is called Who Gets to Decide. And with this, my goal is to help us all be on the same page in terms of pre-planning and the emphasis of residents being able to collaborate with us. I have often heard, I don't know where my taxpayers' dollars go, and just a lot of concerns coming from residents right now. And I think the more that we are proactive in engaging our residents in terms of all of our goals and how we're moving forward, we're going to be a lot better off. So I want to hear from all of you, but I also want to be clear that I think that we as a city need to put resources into hiring professionals who can facilitate community engagement as it relates to the updating of our comprehensive plan, the coordination of our communications plan, our community engagement plan, and many different things that I feel like as a whole, our city hasn't had the capacity to address. I think that this is a priority, and I just wanted to hear council's thoughts about that.
Do we have any questions or comments for Councilwoman Lanu? Mayor Pro Tem Jackson?
Yeah. So when you saying put a committee together or hire someone?
Hire, yes, professionals who are specialized in community engagement, because I recognize, first of all, amongst ourselves, amongst city staff, amongst community organizations, people are doing this work, but coordinating it so that we're all on the same page has been extremely challenging because of a pandemic, because of all the different things that have just shifted. However, historically, it's been challenging coordinating efforts in our community, and I think that we're overdue to put resources toward this.
Councilwoman Clark.
So I'm gonna ask, the manager to chime in on a gentleman that we had talked to before that kind of does the same thing of what she's talking about. Just to give her an update on his position, and he's somebody that we have considered. It's a good idea. I'm not shooting it down at all. So we have been, talking with him. We talked with him 3 times now. And I know, and the priest is also interested in talking to him. He's from the Michigan area. He doesn't live here, but that's exactly what him and his associate does. They're working out of Battle Creek at this time, and we asked them to look at it.
So are we asking for city managers right now?
Just so she can say more of what she heard.
I would just echo what Councilmember Clark said, that there have been conversations with this individual. He has offered to assist the city with things of this nature. We have shared with him that we are updating our comprehensive plan, and he's been supportive and is willing to assist us as well.
Councilman Langston.
I'm curious where we're putting resources behind community engagement and especially when it comes to a new comprehensive plan, we're gonna be stuck with this for a while. Now plans change even after the minute the ink is dried on them, but I think if we're gonna put together a strong comprehensive master plan for the city, that it would be great to have an outside force. Yeah, it's still regional or local coming in and help. As you all know, we live in a really nice fishbowl here in Albion, and some days it looks like the Caribbean, and some days it's a little muddy. It needs to be cleaned because we're like family here. So it's always good to have someone else's perspective and expertise come in and help us sort out some of our stuff here in Albion. So I'm excited about that. I also want to just add that we just went through a couple month process with some of the folks that I work with and having community conversations not here in Albion, but in another community that I work in. And I don't want to just spend money endlessly, because at some point you have to decide we've gotten the engagement of the folks who want to participate and be there at the table as much as you can. Because sometimes people just don't engage. And so we did a series of probably close to 20 conversations around the same topic, and by the last 3, we're like, yep, we're done. We've reached the point of now we're kind of talking in circles, and we've got, things kept coming up repeatedly. And so I want to make sure that whoever we hire is really conscious of that, because we've all been in rooms, heck, this room's probably been one where we went on for way too long on something and didn't get anything done. So again, thank you, Councilmember Lanu, for helping us to keep the eye on the prize of the comprehensive plan, and making sure that we have as much input from the entire community as possible. And so I do welcome this opportunity. Again, not an unlimited piggy bank, right? But definitely would support putting resources behind this effort. And it would be nice if this plan of engagement, or how this is all going to work for the comprehensive plan, could come back to council at some point. So we know, here's the timeline, here's how we engage people, here's when it's going to be done.
So would this be like something that this individual that you two are speaking of would be able to work with on a consultant basis for maybe like a year or 6 months?
Yes, and then as well as the individual that Director Arnold mentioned at the beginning, he has offered to assist and work with us in updating this plan.
And I just want to make sure, I can't remember all the rules about bidding out these types of things, but I'm sure you're a professional in the industry center, just making sure that if we have to bid it out, that we actually bid it out and make sure everyone has a chance. That would be fair in our hiring. I don't want to get us in trouble with that, so.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor Senator. I would also, in terms of the bidding process, or however we're understanding who we are going to invest in providing the support for us, that we all know who that person is, their qualifications, backgrounds. I know Rosalind Jones did a phenomenal job for our city. And so I just would love to know more about this person. And then also, if we can put out a request for proposals, be able to just make sure that we're having someone who could handle our robust community and the engagement that is required to get us through such a tumultuous time. I also want to emphasize in these 10 questions to ask before conducting community engagement and the pre-planning process. One of them is, are residents from the community involved in designing the engagement process? So when I think about us really determining who's going to help facilitate that. I think about the residents also being with us each step of the way, and the immense just concerns and need for transparency, just really being able to have that on the table each step of the way. So I am moving to pursue either request for a proposal or more information about the current person that you have.
Yeah, can you share who will be
Yeah,
leading the discussion on June?
I want to clarify about that. The consultant that I'm asking to come out was a former professor of mine at Grand Valley. He's the current county administrator of Ottawa County, where he's been for some number of years. He does this kind of consulting work in his own community to help. And he reaches that out to certain professional connections that he has over the years that it might be used to. So I believe the cost to the city will be his gas mileage for this one. So that, and that's the reason I went ahead and asked him to come out and pick the date and everything, because it was not going to be a major expense in the slightest. He has a method I've helped him facilitate in the past where he, I interned under him, and this was something we did for a township in Ottawa County where the township trustees and their planning commission sat down on a Saturday morning, and we started out by listing each privately on a note card what are the problem areas in the city or what we'd like to see improved, and then you consolidate all of those into further categories from there, and then you go through each category and do a SWOT analysis on what you have already and what you'd like to see. So it's going to be a good informational session. That is not going to be related to public engagement insofar as, unless you bring it up, which you might have great advice on that, but this was not a freebie, but a good inexpensive opportunity that I wanted to try and leverage for us. So
Thank you.
as far as that goes, I'm absolutely in support of whatever external help that the council and the city manager deem necessary. The sky's the limit on what we can do with the comprehensive plan in terms of benefiting our residents, showing them that we're on their side, and applying for more grant funds.
Any other questions, comments? Councilman Williamson?
Okay, so just to clarify, because I think I have this right, the professor, whatever, he is coming to do a session with the planning commission, great. But we have the opportunity to hire someone to come help facilitate the community sessions. Fantastic, great, thank you.
So just to be clear, I moved for the city to pursue the options that are available to us regarding community engagement professionals assisting our community for at least a 6-month period.
So we're looking at possibly hiring a consultant, is that what
Yeah, I would say a specialist or professional, because for me, this skill set is really moving beyond the awareness consulting phase to like delving in and really being able to hash things out. And there's a very particular skill set that is very demanding. That's why I think it requires somebody who specializes in that.
But we have until February 2022, did you say?
Yes, it's the spoken goal of City Manager Snyder and I to have it wrapped up for New Year's, so that we're not trying to restart after our residents are not around to be engaged with, after staff and council members might be taking personal time. So we're trying to wrap it up before the holidays, just to be ahead of the ball.
Also, to be clear, this language said related to the comprehensive plan. I, again, recognize the planning commission normally is who is in charge of all of this. So to me, the emphasis is more on concerns that we're hearing, the perhaps overdue nature of not being aware of this comprehensive plan at all, along with our communications plan, our capital improvements plan, the multiple plans that residents deserve to know where the taxpayers' money is going. So to me, it's the larger scope than just like a deadline coming up.
Okay.
And I think that the reason I'm emphasizing this so much is I think that would help us get in front of those concerns and have a structure that we're plugging into how we reassure residents when we're hearing so much feedback right now.
So then, would this be something that, like you were saying, Haley, we put out for,
Point of information, so I have to ask, you made a motion, I couldn't tell if you finished it or not.
I
Did you
did,
actually make a motion?
moved for the city to look into professional community engagement services.
I was looking for comment to make sure that motion was correct.
Did anyone second it?
and that's why I kind of wanted to get clarity on, then what does that mean in regards to the city?
So should I put
For
like
that
a
motion.
request for proposals by the middle of June? Like a month from today?
I want to.
So, yeah, I think the original motion is probably, well, we were starting on something, probably a little vague. I would suggest, and what I'm hearing is that we're looking for a way to secure someone to do this work. So my recommendation would be that you specifically state the city put out an RFP for the services that you outlined. And then that way the manager and the rest of the staff can develop an RFP and put it out, and then obviously it'll come back for council for selection based on who applies to the RFP. But I would say, hey, do an RFP for these specific services. Is what I
I
would
move
do.
for the city to generate an RFP for comprehensive community engagement services, and I do have some templates I can share with you, so you might just sign it related to the RFP.
Councilman Williamson, do you have?
No.
No, okay.
She made a motion.
Okay. Do I have a motion to support?
Support.
Councilman Williamson.
Okay, I do have a concern, if council says we want to hire this, and I want to bring it up because, council member Ledoux did acknowledge that the planning commission is the lead on our comprehensive plan. Going forward for the city, they've always, and again, at the risk of sounding that we always do, so that's what it should be done by Democrats if we take it this way. The process has been that the city planning commission is the one who leads this process for the city, which then comes to council for approval. I feel like we might be maybe overstepping with the planning commission, or is this something that the planning commission was intending to do and then bring forward to council? Is this what the process is gonna be? I feel like we might just be kind of stepping in it with the planning commission before they've had a chance to meet and bring back what their plan is for the comprehensive plan. And again, just looking for information so that we don't do something untoward or something we don't want to achieve with this particular action, which I am very much in support of, but again, understanding the balances of power. So could someone enlighten me about the planning commission and what their goal is with this?
They have not had conversations with this level of depth about this since I've been here. So it is something I can bring up with them tomorrow.
And I will just say, because they did go with Rosalind Jones when doing the last comprehensive plan, so I would say that they will probably continue to do that same route with hiring a consultant to assist them. Updating them.
So,
Yes, Councilman Lawler.
thank you, Ms. Mayor. So we had a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
And I seconded it.
Right, so you can have discussion. on
So we have discussion.
We're having discussion on the motion.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Councilman Lynn.
I want to also be clear, I think Attorney Harkness was saying that the agenda item maybe was unclear, or my motion, this says related to updating this. I am advocating that our city needs comprehensive community engagement. It coincides with our planning director and planning commission's work, but we are a very small town. We have the ability to coordinate our efforts and not overstep boundaries. And considering this is on their agenda tomorrow, I don't think that it's too off step. I have reached out to Chairman Strander and the Director Arnold here. So I'm doing this with full transparency of the order of operations, the sequences that are required, and just consideration that this is something that normally would be brought to us every year for people to know about and be reassured by, and I don't think most people know it exists. So I don't think that it has to be just about the comprehensive plan.
City Clerk, sorry, Councilman Williamson.
So what's the point? I guess what's the point? If it's not to support the comprehensive plan,
It
what's the
is to
point?
support the comprehensive plan.
Okay, but then I go, so
Councilman Williamson.
I'm gonna go back to, well, if it's in support of the comprehensive plan, then we should allow the planning commission to lead this. We put them on a board to do this. I'm assuming anybody on council who would like to help the planning commission, if there's a spot available, could apply to be on planning commission. Again, I don't want to stop us from having this work, but I also don't want to overstep the people that are going to be leading the process for our community. So I guess if it's,
You can vote no. This is a matter of principle about community engagement.
so this is a matter of principle for you and not a matter of function and process for city government. I mean,
Colin,
So just as a point of clarity, just, and so everyone on council is on the same page, I mean, there's the planning commission operates under a separate statute than what the council operates under. So, you know, certainly the council can opt to do an RFP and hire this person to do exactly what has been discussed here tonight. But, and while you can do that, ultimately, the process is the planning commission makes a decision, the initial decision regarding the comprehensive plan, and ultimately the council will vote whether or not to approve or disapprove it. So hypothetically, the planning commission could take this information from this individual and welcome it and integrate it and make that part of the comprehensive plan. On the flip side of that coin, they could say, we're not going this direction, thank you for the info, go pound sand. So basically what I'm saying is you can do this, but ultimately whatever the council does in this regard is purely advisory to the planning commission.
so for that reason, I'm going to be not supporting this motion, not because it's not brought in with good faith or good intent, but because it is the planning commission's job. We could do it. We could hire a consultant. They could ignore it. I'd rather have this be a more collaborative process. Again, knowing that the planning commission has used the consultant they've used before, I think we should leave it to them to decide how to bring that forward, strong and encourage from council to do this work. Thanks.
Councilmember Lanu,
Yes.
Williamson,
No.
Clark,
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson,
Yes.
Lawler,
yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Okay. So we have a motion to discuss or approve the future ordinance for adult use marijuana retail sales. Oh, you wanna speak on this?
It's just discussion, so there's no motion. So,
Good.
so mayor and council, so here, there's been discussion over the last however long period of time of you know, the city's operated with medical grows, processors, secure transporters, testing facilities and dispensaries. 2019, the city opted to also allow for adult use, grow and process only. So the remaining facilities were excluded. And so there have been people reaching out to the city about whether or not to expand into what's referred to under the MRTMA, which is the adult use statute, about adding retail sales to the mix, which is just the adult use version of a dispensary. So, you know, obviously there was that previous work session where the gentleman, I believe he was the assistant city manager from Marquette, attended, and there was an attorney that, you know, gave some pros and cons. So here are my thoughts as council for the city on this. Ultimately, I would not recommend the idea of just allowing, well, first of all, the city needs to decide whether or not they want to add retail sales. I mean, that's question number one. There are pluses and minuses to it. I'm happy to answer, you know, or give you my thoughts on those, but the question one is whether you want to allow it. If you do end up allowing it, I would not recommend the idea of just not having a cap on licenses. I think that is a terrible idea. I think it's going to breed an entire new set of problems. A prime example was Leone Township to our east did that, and now they're struggling to force a reduction in the number of facilities that they have by attrition. They got flooded, and all of a sudden they ended up with 15 dispensaries. There are only 13,000 people over there. I think they whittled it down to 8. They're trying to whittle that down to 6, which I still think is a lot for that population. Ultimately, when we did medical, we used the city of Lansing as a model to say, okay, given Lansing population, They ended up doing 75, which I think is crazy, but, you know, our population in proportion to theirs would say, okay, Albion should have 2. So I think if you do it, you should cap it at 2 in terms of the retail sales. Here's the problem with that. When you do a cap of any kind on retail sales, now under the MRTMA, we have to institute a competitive process for that. Which in theory sounds easy, but it's not. When I say a competitive process, the statute basically says that you have to make a competitive process for these applicants and get the licenses of the people that are most able, demonstrating through their application, most able to comply with the MRTMA. So these ideas that we would put, you know, say a stipulation in that we give a certain amount of points for maybe that's somebody that's a resident or a pre-existing business. None of those things are things that we can include. And I say that because currently, right now in the state of Michigan, there are at least 6 lawsuits pending with municipalities that have retail sales and have put caps on it. And those are, off the top of my head, Alpena, Berkeley, Detroit, Westland, the village of Edmondsburg, and Mount Clemens. All of their processes are being challenged in court. Some of them are in the circuit court level, some of them are in the Court of Appeals. Quite frankly, as the attorney in the group, my preference would be, I would love it if a couple of these would get sorted out in the Court of Appeals and there'd be a ruling that would say, okay, here's what's good and what's bad. Nothing has made it there yet, which is too bad for us. So, you know, and I think in an ideal world, what I would suggest to council is possibly put this on the back burner and wait to see how some of those shake out, because I think it would give you a better idea if you want to pursue that way of what kind of structure you need to set up. Because what I don't want to have happen is the council would do this, we come up with the best structure we can, but then we spend the next couple of years litigating it. And usually what's happening in these lawsuits are they're getting courts to issue injunctions where the city can't issue any licenses to any facility. So what you end up in that scenario is you're no longer getting the application fees, you're not getting any excise fees, you're not getting any of that stuff because you can't issue the licenses. So it ends up being a financial detriment to the city rather than a benefit. All things to consider. I don't know, you may adopt an ordinance and maybe you don't get sued, but here's the, you know, if I'm a betting man. You know, we've got 1 dispensary operating in the city right now. And I know they've reached out to several council members, they've reached out to me, I've talked to their attorney. Under a competitive process, it's hypothetically possible that they may not get one of the adult use licenses if we do a cap. And so what's the likely outcome of that? We're probably gonna get sued because they're gonna say, you know, hey, we're operating, we want a license. I'm not saying that they will, but as an attorney, I think it would probably be like, if I were their attorney, I'd say, hey, let's do it. So these are all things that the council needs to consider when you decide whether or not to move forward. You know, one of the conversations I had with the chief is a lot of the places where this has been successful, they have oversight with their police and public safety departments. You know, everyone's aware our public safety department isn't the biggest. We probably have 2 officers on at any given time. And based on my conversations with the chief, he doesn't think, and I don't want to speak for him, but the indications I got from him was that, quite frankly, they don't have the time to police these facilities unless the city dedicates more resources to it. So, so my suggestion to council is, if you're inclined to go down the adult use retail sales road, I think you should wait to see how some of these other cities who are currently engaged in litigation, how that shakes out, because ultimately, at some point, someone is going to take this up on appeal on the merits, and there's going to be a ruling from an appellate court saying this structure is banned, this structure is allowed, and it'll give you some idea. Or you can, you know, charge ahead. I'm not averse to litigation. I like being in the courtroom, but at the same time, you know, my job is to mitigate risk for the city.
So on this issue, I came in tonight to discuss making a suggestion that we put together a community kind of committee, to discuss what they think is tolerable as far as recreational use and recreational sales, like kind of getting like, we already know the community is okay with recreational sales. We voted for that overwhelmingly in each precinct 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, overwhelmingly 2/3 of the city wanted recreational sales. So I don't think the question is whether people want it, I think it's what type and the competitive process and the cap. I want to point out that since the beginning, since recreational marijuana was actually passed in Michigan, our city attorney has always advised generally against or has put barriers in front of us into making it come to fruition as a possibility in Albion. It's always, we're gonna get sued, or, you know, let's wait until this municipality decides. Meanwhile, the rest of the state of Michigan has moved forward and are reaping the benefits of allowing retail sales in their community, whether they do tax benefits to the bottom line for the community, whether they do jobs. There are benefits taking place in other communities, and we are missing it. So I would want to know just how many communities are being sued, and is it the overwhelming number? Or maybe we just need to get a second opinion from an attorney who may not have such a strong bias about recreational use. And again, I say that with a lot of respect for Colin, because I have a great relationship with Colin, he does a lot of good work for us. But it's just been clear since the beginning of this process that there is a bias, whether implicit or not, against recreational sales, or an aversion to creating a system where our business owners can actually reap the benefits of being able to sell their product in our community safely and keeping in line with the law. So I guess I want to offer up, I guess, 3 things. One, I guess I want another legal opinion about the dangers and perils which we're running into doing something that's been voted on by the state of Michigan and is legal. 2, I would think I'd want to have more of a, if we're going to talk about community conversations and community engagement, I guess I would want a stronger community engagement strategy to talk about what people want in their community, how many is tolerable if we have to cap it. And then also maybe we need to bring in some other experts to talk about what do those caps look like in other states, in other municipalities around the country, or even just around here in Michigan, how folks are handling it.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, Councilman Muller.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I just want to thank Helen for kind of looking out for us on the getting sued and all of that, because that is something that we do need to know about. I just wondered, you said a city, you said the medical that we have now could possibly come back and say, hey, they won't let us do recreational, is that what I heard, or something?
No, and so what I'm saying is, under the statute, if you put a cap on the number of retail sale facilities, you have to do a competitive process. And the way that it's set up is the competitive process has to be, the evaluation criteria has to be, what facility is most able to best comply with the state statute. And so when you have your cap at 2 facilities, I don't know, there could be applicants that come out of the woodwork. Maybe they have a better system than the current facility that's there. And so you would be obligated by statute to say, all right, we're picking facility A and facility B. Sorry, facility C, we only have two licenses, you don't get one. And so, you know, as a facility that's already operating, I could foresee litigation coming out of it. It's not a guarantee, they might not, but I mean, they've made an investment in the city, and so my assumption would be that's a possibility. And so let me be clear with council. You know, in all deference to Councilman Williamson, I've been dealing with marijuana in one fashion or another for the better part of my career. I have no reservations about drafting an ordinance for you if that's what you decide to do. I'm just telling you, there's a lot of litigation going on across the state with a lot of these cities. The assistant city manager for Marquette alluded to that, as did the attorney for, and forgive me, I don't remember which firm he was with. I mean, it's a reality. I don't want the city to face a lawsuit, but if you decide you want to move forward and draft an ordinance, I will gladly assist you with that as your city attorney. That's my job, but I just want you to be aware of the potential risks.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackie,
Yes, it is. Okay. I make a motion to postpone. this conversation, discussion of a future ordinance for adult use marijuana.
If I can make a suggestion, is maybe, I will certainly volunteer to keep an eye on the pending litigation, maybe come back and put a time frame on it, say, let's bring it back in 90 days to see where they're at.
Home. Now we're talking about.
No, I know, but like,
Yeah.
we have to have an endpoint.
We gotta postpone.
Well, you don't have to, but I'm just suggesting putting it out.
I'm one of them, but they don't.
Okay.
So, and I thank you for all that you said.
So if we could have a second, okay.
Is this to postpone indefinitely or to postpone?
She said she don't wanna have a discussion. It's
So that's indefinite?
Wait,
I'm
I was gonna ask-
asking her, what's our motion?
Yeah, that's my motion.
Indefinite?
Yes.
Councilman Williamson.
okay, could someone just provide some clarity around parliamentary procedure? So when you table something, or even indefinitely, it still can come back if council
That's fine.
wants to bring it back, correct?
Correct.
That's
Okay,
fine.
great.
I'm quite sure it will. Well, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I just want clarification, because I believe this started as just a discussion item.
It says discussion.
What is it?
No, it says discussion.
It's just
Mine say
discussion.
discussion approved.
Mine said discussion approval.
On the agenda, it's
Discussion of future.
Realistically, what you're voting on, or what the motion is to table the discussion.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said. It's not put
So-
on. People would know.
I mean, you can table the discussion.
It's done.
I
So
want
you
to
still have to vote on it,
use
just move. You
Yes.
still have to vote on it, because it's a motion.
the motion.
Right,
So
there's a
you want me to use
motion
the
to
word
table.
motion table it?
Move to table it,
Thank
is the correct way to say that.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Waller.
Yes.
Lanu.
Yes.
Williamson.
No,
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So the next item was our discussion on the needs for the Community Unity Day of Service. At the last meeting, I had asked each of you to kind of take a little survey of your precincts to see, you know, what areas could use some TLC, some attention, so that we can start planning for this day in September. And so if you guys have that information now, I would gladly jot that down so that we can start a running list. That way then I know how many groups, volunteers we need to address these specific issues. Does anybody have any? Yes.
So definitely, the part on the corner of, Austin and Albion. And then, some of the, vacant areas, as far as like there's a house on Austin Street, I don't know if we're supposed to be cutting it or whatever.
Corner, Austin.
Austin,
And
yeah. Cause it looks a mess.
when is this supposed to happen? There.
It's the weekend before the festival. The festival is the third Saturday in September.
So it's supposed to be September the.
So it's the second Saturday in September.
To the 18th.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Wilk.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Currently, right now, I was not able to get out to Fourth Precinct, due to some medical issues the last 2 weeks. So I am asking, is there a date that you would like these submitted? So I can at least have a chance to get out, because I was out for 2 weeks, so, I'm just trying to see if I can get in some.
I mean, like I said, it's just gonna be a running list. I would probably initially want to have something solidified, like no more, no more tasks, by the end of June, so that we can have in July and August to make sure that we have enough volunteers for the projects that we have deemed.
Thank you.
I like the sidewalk going down Albion Street on the side where the mountain is a bunch of junk and just debris that needs to be cleaned out.
On Main Street.
What the metal was.
Exactly. Yes, Councilwoman Nick.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. I currently can predict that precinct 5 will need one group for the area on the east side of Family Fair, on that roadway. The current manager of Family Fair has been very helpful, Joe Wade. Once we reached out to him to clean it up, but it seems like every time I go by, there's new stuff, so that's all I can think of, though, is that one area.
So yeah, just kind of get.
I was just saying, I went to Victory Park, over the weekend just to see what kind of stuff needs to be done down there, because I didn't even talk about this. Definitely, I want to pull for two things. One, I want to say thank you to whoever at the city on staff got all those slides fixed at the playground equipment, because last year they were in terrible shape. In fact, 2 slides were basically blocked off by caution tape and removed from that play structure, that beautiful play structure. So first of all, everything was fixed and was in working order, and so thank you to the city workers for doing that. But 2, as things do happen as far as entering spring and summer, it's definitely due for a good clean, and I do know that there's funds available for the mulch that needs to be put down. Definitely need some of those little pinchers to get the garbage off the ground all around the play plates and that middle part of the Victory Park. So just wanted to add that to your list.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, I'll be bringing this up quite a bit to get input, but thank you all. Okay. So discussion on our street sweeper schedule. And then provided a map, if you want to give us a little bit more background.
So you all have the map, very basic map. Just kind of like a goal that we have for the sweeper. And you can see the south side of town is where we started. We started over by the college area for graduation. We're kind of working around. Basically, yeah, that's why we started at the college areas, because graduation. And then we just kind of come up with a schedule, what we think is going to work best. Right now, the area in blue is where they are. I just saw them on Cash Street today. I think that's going to work out well through the summer, get that cleaned up by the park there. As you guys know, we pulled the sweeper off when we're out to do things for like Memorial Day, 4th of July, festival, try to keep major events cleaned up. Another thing is we hit the trunk line often, the state trunk line, to keep that clean. That's our busiest area. The sweeper is out, I would say probably 4 times a week right now. A lot of times they start early in the morning. He'll be going through midday. It was down for a little bit. It had a hydraulic leak that we had to repair, and then the water filter system, we had to fix that as well. So it was down for a couple weeks already this year.
So I'm from Missouri, so I have to see things for myself. So I did take a ride today, and the areas that you had in yellow did look much better. I want to say thank you for that. I appreciate it. And I wonder, I know you said they go out early in the morning. Is there a such thing, and I don't know if you can do it or not, so I guess I'll let this to the city manager, to do it at night when people can't park on the street? Is that a possibility? Because I think they could get much more done, like if you could do a shift rotation or something like that. And you know, like they don't come and you do it you tell them on a Monday, they don't have to come in Monday, they start Sunday night or, you know, something like that.
I can speak to that actually. So he is coming in at about 3 or 4 in the morning most days. Sometimes he can come in at 2. I give them a little bit of flexibility when they can come in with families and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I meant by early in the morning before 7.
Okay.
So what happens at the end of July when leaves start falling off the trees and all this and stuff?
Circle back. So this is just this is just one time. This is our goal for the initial. This will be repeated over and over. This first time is the slowest process because the street is so dirty from winter, and it'll get faster and faster as we do it.
So like rotation process.
Yeah, and it'll be better this year than it has in the last several because now we have a sweeper full time.
Because at least we do go back through and get, it's actually very harmful though to the street sweeper to have all of that bulk material and that kind of
Right, yeah, they don't pick up leaves.
Cause-
They try.
causes the clog up and the breakdown. So that's why we're really encourage our residents to rake their leaves and put them in the large waste bin that Granger provides or bag them. But do please try to avoid from pushing them in the curbside because then it gets pushed down into our sewer and water system and it just causes a lot of issues.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Councilwoman.
Judy, can the street sweeper go up in those two parking lots out at Holland and sweep those out too?
Absolutely, and that's kind of why, as you see on here, the blue areas right now, because I know you're planning on that, and I'm hoping he's there by now, or by then, and if not, I'll make sure that he does.
Anything else for Director Miller? Gentlemen? Thank you so much for that information. All right, so future agenda items. Yes, Councilwoman.
So I would like to discuss, starting at precinct meetings, and some strategies of, how we can and get more people to come and attend. Next one, and brainstorm that. I'd like to also look at the water tower. I know a few years ago, we were looking at, repairs to the water tower and capabilities of where it's at now. And with us thinking about infrastructure and bringing in more developers and things like that, you know, I want us to stay ahead of that. So if we do get more housing and things like that, we'll be able to meet that. So I'd like to look at what was discussed before. I think Jill knows what I'm talking about. And we discussed that. And I don't want Haley to get too far into her career without us doing an evaluation. So I'd like to look at us doing her, what it's close to 6 month evaluation.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I think it's time that we address the racism as far as having it at public health crisis. Hearing a lot that we're not being bothered with it, so I think we need to put that on the agenda and see where we want to go with it.
Jackson.
I want to thank Councilman Clark. I did a sensitivization to Colin about evaluations so that we could be on the same page with that. So then we also can look at 2 evaluations together with both of those. And then also I would like to know the proper procedure. I keep hearing individuals shouldn't talk to certain people when they need something done in their precincts. So can you give us all the proper procedures of who we need to talk to? If it's to you, if it's to Bonnie, whoever it is, whenever we have a problem or there's a situation going on.
If you have any questions regarding a specific department, feel free to reach out to either the department head or administrative support within that department. It just goes if you want to have them complete a task or anything that needs to run through then my office, and I will then follow up with the proper individuals who will oversee that. But if you just have a question or if you want to provide them with info, if you see something out that you need to bring it to their attention, please do not hesitate to reach out to the department heads. It's just when asking them to do something that needs to come through the city manager's office, and then I will obviously follow up with the appropriate individuals.
So that's something that you still want on the next.
If she, I mean, if everybody's clear with that, understand it, then we don't have to have it. Just want to make sure that's clear, you know, I don't like hearing, you know, bits and pieces and it's come directly from her. So we all can follow the same procedure.
So just to clarify, if it's information gathering or sharing information, straight to the department head, but if it's, I want something done or I have a question about getting something done, to the city manager. Thank you.
Any other future agenda items? Okay. Jesse, do we have anybody else for public comments? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman.
Future agenda items, I'd like to put on there, Juneteenth.
Anything else, Councilman?
Yes, I just have one. I will be bringing to council's attention, we are just about finished with the transportation asset management plan. Now with that, we need to kind of identify a level of funding to kind of fully support this plan. What good is having a plan if we don't have any resources available to tackle some of the projects identified? So we will be coming forward with a few recommendations to identify funding sources to further support our transportation asset management.
Any other items for the next meeting?
Is there a place out there where I could say something quickly about Juneteenth? Not.
We will get to our mayor and council member comments. That'd be good then?
Yeah.
No, will that be?
Yeah, that would be
Okay. Jesse, do we have anybody on for council member?
Looks like we have one individual, Garrett Brown.
Okay.
Hello.
Garrett, you have the floor.
Okay, just a couple of things. First, I know when there was discussion about the appointments, I know Councilmember Clark asked about the process that should go on when we're making appointments. So obviously it's, you know, the mayor can nominate and the council can agree or disagree. But one of the things that I think would be helpful, I can't remember how much of this is in the rules. I know we tried to make a habit of, when we were appointing people, to include the other applications with the packets to the council members so they could see who actually applied. That's the first thing. Also, the person appointed, having them at the meeting. So I know obviously the meetings are virtual now, but that might be something that would be beneficial because it allows the council to ask questions directly of the candidate, because, you know, sometimes names come before you that you might not know. And in the case of, let's say, the EDC appointment, I know that in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be discussion about Albion first, and Mr. Zabluski was the final, he filled the final vacancy on the EDC. And how this all works is, if the council were to take a position that was not in favor of Albion first, what you may have done today by not asking questions about his appointment or you know, why the mayor selected him. I know the mayor was listed as one of his references. You basically created a situation where he could go to the EDC board and vote to pass it. But that wasn't something that was discussed in the discussion, right? So that's why it's really important to make sure you get all the applications and make sure the people that who are put forward for appointment are actually meeting, so you can ask them questions, because I think that's something that would be a very important thing to ask, is what was his position on the Albion first proposal. The other thing I was going to say is I wanted to thank the majority of the council that supported Councilmember Lanew's proposal for community engagement. That's very important. I think that a lot of times, historically, decisions have been made without the inclusion of the community. So I want to thank you all for doing that. And then finally, about the medical marijuana thing, I've always said this, and I'm just going to be really frank about it. I feel in one instance, I would agree with Councilmember Williamson tonight. I feel that the attorney's role should be to present all options, pros and cons, and let the council duke it out, and not put a thumb on the scale for any particular proposal. I know this came up even when the hiring of our current manager was put before the council. He made a comment about him recommending, right? And that was inappropriate. So I think that.
You're out of time.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I don't see any other hands raised at this time, no.
Good. City manager report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So a copy of my report was included in the packet. Few things to highlight. So our Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, they met last week on Monday, May 10th. The commission, they are working to update their 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan. They have developed a survey. So a part of that process, it requires 2 forms of public input. So part 1, they've developed a survey to start seeking input from the residents on our parks business within their community. That survey will be released the week of May 23rd and will be open through June 20th. Please note that a notice will be issued in this week's reporter, just making the community aware that this is coming. We will be releasing it at several platforms. We will have a link available on the city's website. We'll have hard copies here down City Hall. We'll be reaching out to the library, other common places where residents go. We'll also be reaching out to parents and try to get into the schools to have send copies home with the students or allow the students to complete the surveys to get their feedback before the end of the school year. So just wanted to let everyone know that that commission is working hard to get that plan updated. The Albion YMCA programs, they continue to be a success. Water aerobics kicked off last week, and I just received an actual update this morning, and they had a total of 48 participants over the first 2 weeks of that program. So that is I would say that's a big success for that. The May program schedule can be found on the city's website. I just want to know, beginning in June, Holland Park and Washington Garden will be designated as free summer feeding sites for up to 50 kids. They will begin at 11 a.m. and 11:10. So please pass that information along. If you know anyone, please encourage them to utilize those feeding sites. The Albion Farmers Market. So with the recent sale of the Albion Food Hub, we no longer have the Albion Food Manager. The Albion Downtown Development Authority, they have agreed to take the lead on organizing and overseeing the farmers market this year. They will be collaborating with Walk the Beat to provide that service to our community. So the Wednesday market will kick off actually this Wednesday. And it is scheduled to run from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. beginning on May 19th through September 29th. So please get out and support our local farmers market. Just want to highlight the Memorial Day Parade. The local Post 55 of the American Legion and its auxiliary, they will be again sponsoring the annual Memorial Day Parade in Albion on Monday, May 31st. The parade will begin at 9 a.m. Parade route starts at the marketplace and will proceed down to East Erie Street. Start at Marketplace in East Erie and proceed down to the Riverside Ceremony. So if you are around, please come out and participate in that event. I know a lot of you have heard of the American Rescue Plan. So we have been anxiously awaiting the guidance on how we are able to utilize those funds. However, the city of Albion, we are classified as a non-entitlement community, which means we have a population less than 50,000. They have not released those guidance, so we're still waiting. The Department of Treasury said that they will release all of the guidance for non-entitlement communities within the next day or so, so we are anxiously awaiting for those. We anticipate receiving $829,600 from this rescue plan. However, I just attended an MML webinar this afternoon. The anticipated allocation amounts were higher than what is currently being released. So we're still waiting to see what our actual number will be. I did share at the last council meeting, I would like to schedule a study session to start discussing what we can do with these types of funds. We have, I believe it's 3 years to spend these. So special election turnout, I have received several questions regarding the low turnout that we had at the special election at the beginning of this month. I just want to reiterate that the Michigan law severely restricts on how public funds can be used to campaign. So it's the city's responsibility and role. We release the ballot language. We are not able to advocate for or against anything. That is the role of the city. It then falls on outside groups to kind of get behind and push any millage or proposal that the city is seeking. So I just wanted to clarify on that, we did do what we were supposed to do by releasing it, but we need to encourage our residents to kind of get more involved and really advocate and push these things when we are introducing them in our community. Use of recreation bans. So we have finally received clarification from the insurance provider in regard to outside use of the city recreation bans. I know the city had a program in place a few years ago. We had to stop that just from advice received from our insurance company. We have clarified that and we are working to get all of our forms updated. And so we will be looking to roll that program out here in June. Community-wide cleanup, I just want to, this will remain in my report as it continues to get nice. I know people are starting to do their spring and summer cleaning. The community-wide cleanup will take place on Saturday, June 26th from 9 to 3 p.m. Drop-off locations are at Ketchum and Harris Field. And I just always want to remind the Ranger provides that one bulk item pickup once a month. We can call to have that scheduled. Street lights, because I have a few more questions. If you have street lights that are out, please either call the Department of Public Service to report that pole number, or you can utilize the link, the consumer's online report form. The link is available on the city's website. Just go in and report all the information and they will be out within a few days to get that repaired. The first, second, third, Wild and Hartwell Street, that project kicked off this week. They will finish moving in all of their equipment today. They will begin with the water main installation beginning on Tuesday. They will start with Wild Street, followed by the side streets and end with Hartwell. And now at the beginning of this program, project, it may look like no work is being done. That's because they dig up everything, work underground, fill it back in at the end of the day. The next day they dig it all back up, go in. So it may not look like a lot is happening, but work is being done. So I know we were very excited to have that project started. I received notification at the end of last week that the Calhoun County Land Bank, they actually received a grant from the state land bank in the amount of $200,000 to go towards the remediation at 131 North Superior Street. The land bank will be releasing an official press release this week, but I just wanted to make council aware that they received that grant, and so that is exciting news for another blighted structure here in our community. And then the community parade, I sent this out to all of you earlier this afternoon. The community parade has been scheduled and is being organized by Sarai Kim to honor the 2021 graduates. This is scheduled for June 13th at 4 p.m. It'll start at Washington Garner and proceed down to Erie Street. So please get out and really support and honor our 2021 graduates.
Any questions for Haley about her information? Yes, Councilman Waller?
Yes, so, in this number, you says to utilize the call the customers online report. Can we use that if we want to talk about, a possible another piece of lighting?
Yep, they have, there's like a
Okay.
full form in the comment section, so you can put whatever comments that you would like to leave
Okay.
for them. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for City Manager Smith? All right. Council member comments. Anybody have comments? Councilman Waller?
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I have a couple. I've been kind of busy this weekend and talking and going to community events. One community event I attended was the roller skating for Double Vision. They had a community event out in Victory Park. Some officers showed up about a community event saying that the music was too loud for roller skating. So, my thing about it, right?
I know, because I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
I don't know who it was that
That's why it's
recorded,
fine,
but it was a community event, and I think it really put a damper on how things were looking at that time to people that were out there. So I just wanted to make us all aware of that. Another thing that I did today, I met with, you got my card, so I don't know his name, but his first name is Norman. I think that was his first name, but I met with him.
Christopher.
Okay, and Miss Emily Peets. Remember?
Yes.
Okay, she reached out and I had a meeting with her today, and the current organization that she works for, they did ask me questions about housing. They asked questions about a grocery store. They asked about a housing needs assessment. They encouraged me to go to this website called Alice, which is put on by the United Way about housing alliances. We also talked about they could possibly help try to collaborate partnerships about daycare. It was a good discussion, and she did say that she tried to reach out to some of us. She didn't give me any names, but I gave a couple of people some insight about what they wanted to talk about, and people that's on our council, if they was interested in some of this. So I went to them specifically and gave them some information about this guy, but he also talked about transportation. I did ask him would he be willing to come back and probably sit down and talk with our city manager. They agreed to, so I will give you the information. There are other people in the community that they wanted to talk to, but mainly they were just gathering information about the needs of Albion and housing for Albion. So I'm just hoping I did a good job, and I hope that we can use whatever they got. They have some really great ideas. So with that being said, one more thing, it was about Victory Park. When I was out there, I did go and look at the bridges. They were and I mean, they're chipping away, and we need to look at it. We need to look at it. So hopefully we can all get together and just do something nice for the
Are
community.
you referring to the wood bridges within the park?
No, it was the concrete.
The Haven Rail Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
It's right behind that.
just trying to help out, bring some awareness to everybody, and I know everybody had their own specific thing that they were concerned about, so whatever I gathered from this guy, I dispersed it to people that I thought was produced. That's it for me.
Councilwoman Lee?
Yes, Mayor Snyder, thank you. I just wanted to, again, iterate, there is a free grant writing workshop for limited capacity organizations on Monday and Tuesday from 9 to 11 a.m. And I sent that to all of you, but if you need me to resend it, just let me know.
Any other comments? Councilwoman Lee?
On Juneteenth, which is June 19th, at Highland Park, there's going, at the celebration, there's going to be several departments there. They're going to be giving COVID shots. Grace Health is going to be there, Summit Point, Carewell, Molina, Healthcare, YMCA, Bronson Hospital, and Report Allegiance will be there. Oprah, the County Health Department, the NACP, and the Albion Healthcare Alliance will all be there doing different things about healthcare. Not just COVID shot, but blood pressures, diabetic testing, other things that that go along with the healthcare field. So they'll be there doing those. If you saw last Saturday's news, that's Thursday's newspaper. Again, this Thursday, some things will be in there, and up until Juneteenth. Oh, I also have this flyer where it says be a vaccination ambassador. And this is going to be, it's got a website here that you can contact, because for the first 100 people to sign up to attend the training for talking to people about getting healthcare checks and phone checks, we'll give you $25 gift cards. I'm going to leave this with the city manager. She can put it down there and maybe somebody can see it. But at Juneteenth, we're going to have several things going on besides the health clinic. Players will be there to walk the beat with vendors. Dante will be doing jazzerciser, but he will not be doing it Juneteenth. He will be doing it at Highland Park on May the 29th and June the 12th. at 11 o'clock. So if there's anyone who wants to come down and exercise with Dante, he'll be there then, but he couldn't, he was already booked for Juneteenth. So Mr. Armstrong will be doing it for Juneteenth. But there's lots of things that's gonna be going on. We'll be talking more and more about that. Mill Barnes kids are gonna be playing 3-on-3, play 3-on-3 basketball during the day and a lot of other things. And next time we'll talk about some more, but if you'll keep check on the paper, there'll be something coming out about what we're gonna be doing for Juneteenth this year.
Any other comments? So kind of going along with City Manager Snyder's report on farmers market starting this Wednesday, Walk the Beat. They have a full line of musicians lined up every Wednesday to be available as well. You know, just for music lovers who kind of want to sit out, enjoy the sunshine, shop at the farmers market, listen to some music, variety of music genre. So that is a great enhancement to our farmers market as well. This weekend, our very own Malibu is celebrating their 3rd anniversary. They also plan on adding live music. So it is nice to be able to get outside, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy fellowship. So I do encourage anybody and everybody to get out and support our community endeavors. So if nothing else, I will go ahead, motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
Councilmember Clark, Reed, Jackson,
Yeah.
Lemieux,
Yes.
Williamson,
yeah.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So, meeting 9:18 p.m.